حي على الصلاة.
Berkata di bibir tersentuh di jiwa. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to Adia, Season 13, Episode 7 with me, Bashira, your host for today. So for today's 7th episode of Adia, we have brought to you, I would say, a very important topic to talk about, which is Fatabayanu, debunking myth, upholding truth, where we will be focusing on fake news. So for us to further discuss this topic, we have brought to you a very credible guest for us today in IIUMTV studio, which is Dr. 𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐵 an Assistant Professor of Quranic and Hadith Studies. Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
How are you, Doctor? Are you good?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so before we start with our discussion of the topic, Doctor, would you please introduce yourself to the audience out there? Maybe tell them a little bit on your background, Doctor, please.
My name is 𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐵. Currently, I am lecturing at the Department of Quran and Sunnah Studies, Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, Kuliah of Islamic Liberal Knowledge and Human Sciences, and at the same time, I am the special advisor to the Minister of Communication, and that is where the fake news we fight very hard and try to cope with it using so many mechanisms, whether it is through the rules and regulations and the awareness among our people.
Okay, the advisor of the Minister of Communication, Doctor. Wow, so indeed we have brought the perfect guest for today's episode. Okay, so now that we have known our guest a little bit more, we will go back to our main topic, where we'll be talking about fake news, Doctor. Okay, so when we talked about fake news, right? What is the actual meaning behind fake news, just beyond wrong information? Because when people listen to fake news, they know, oh, this is just wrong information. But are there any other definitions of fake news, Doctor?
The fake news is something that it is not aligned with the truth that it should be. and it is something that when people, it can be completely and totally uh, wrong information or half-baked information, because the spreader of the news wanted people not to understand it or to comprehend it as what it is. So he might want to share something what we call as uh, white lie. All right, it cannot be completely wrong, but it cannot be completely true. So he shared an information which cannot perfectly true. Uh, so this is one what we call as the most uh, smartest quote unquote mechanism to spread and to share the fake news at the moment, especially on social media.
So even half-baked information or even informations that are not completely wrong are still considered as fake news, doctor. Yeah. Okay, so I learned in my communication class there are a few types of um, fake news. We have disinformation, misinformation, and also malinformation. And some people, they tend to get confused with these types of informations. So how do we differentiate between misinformation and disinformation, doctor?
Yeah, misinformation. The person try to change the fact of the information, and another one is that they what they make the information is not reaching the audience or the people, and both have the same consequences.
Okay.
Where the public, the people cannot get the right and the full picture of the information or the situation, which lead the majority of the people have a wrong interpretation, wrong understanding about one particular issue. Yeah.
So even if those different types of information are considered fake news, there are different types, but they still bring the same effect to people, where we
Indeed.
are not able to get the full informations about the real condition that is happening right out there. Okay, so again, like you have mentioned before, some people, they intend to do fake news or fake informations to not tell the truth, but there are also any other reasons for people doing fake news right out there. So why do actually people create and spread fake news? Like, is there any main reasons why people do these things?
Um, at my department, I teach ulum al-hadith, sciences of hadith in Arabic language, and one of the topic that we talk about is the fabrication of hadith, or we call it as hadith mawdu'. And hadith mawdu', we have the two types of the reasons why people did fabricate hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the first one is the asbab al-maqsuda, and the second one asbab ghair maqsuda, by intention, and the second one is non-intentional. All right. The by intention, because they have the intention to fabricate, to create a fake news due first of it, one of them is due to the political reasons. All right, to support their groups. All right, and to use or to sell products, for example. And these are all a very archaic and very what we call as reasons that has been in the society, or the humanities for the past, I think, 1,000 years ago. All right, they have their own intention, the political one. At the moment, what we can see on social media or even the mainstream media, people have we are practicing political issues, or we are politicking, okay, 25 hours a day, all right, 8 days in a week. We go beyond the limit due to that political issues, or to manipulate people to buy products and so on and so forth, even for using the Islamic terminologies. All right, to sell something which is prophetic food, or what we call it as makanan sunnah, the prophetic food, which is there is no as such prophetic foods in the Islamic studies or Islamic teachings, where people feel that if they buy it or consume it, they are more religious due to that. Because of what? This is the disinformation or de-information, because the right information about Islamic teaching is not sufficient for people, or the majority of people, to understand it properly as what it is in the Islamic studies.
Oh, I see. So, you know how even people in businesses, they often, exaggerate on what they sells, right? So just like how Doctor gave the example of sunnah food or prophetic foods. Some people, they even sell, milk made from kurma, made from dates. They call it prophetic foods, but it's just commercial things. So those are one of the main reasons why people spread fake news, and how commercials are actually considered as one of the fake news that's happening currently right now, right, Doctor? Okay, so we have identified the different types of fake news, and we already know the intention on why people actually do fake news. So now we're going to talk about the consequences of fake news itself. So would you please explain to the audience what are the consequences of fake news that is happening currently, Doctor?
Firstly, if we talk from the lens of Islamic studies, from the Quran and Sunnah, especially in Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ considered those people who just share or spread information and news. Everything that he receives or he hears or listens to, he could be considered as a liar. In a hadith of in Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, "كَفَى بِالْمَرْءِ كَذِبًا أَنْ يُحَدِّثَ بِكُلِّ مَا سَمِعَ." It is sufficient. It is enough to consider and to call someone as a liar whenever he shares everything that he receives without any checking.
Yes.
All right. This is from the Islamic perspective. Second one, from our rules and regulations under the law of Malaysia, we have at least these two rules and laws which we can charge those who spread fake news or spread hoax information and so on. First one is under Communication and Multimedia Acts, and the second one is under Penal Code. And it is a very severe punishment under these two laws. So, yeah, it is an option for those who wanted to do it, and feel free to do, because you will bear the consequences from what you have done.
So those are from the perspective of the fake news givers itself, where people are sharing fake news. So what about the people who are receiving the fake news? What are the consequences that they bear, Doctor?
Yeah, it can be something. If he shares it, all right, if shares it and act upon it accordingly to the fake news, he will or she will receive the similar punishment as what the doer did earlier.
Oh, okay. So it seems like even if you're not the one giving the news, again, you will be receiving the same punishment as those who are actually doing the fake news itself, right? Okay, so a very intense and a very interesting topic we have talked about. We have got to know more on the fake news, a little bit of introductions, where we have talked about the meanings behind fake news, also of the different types of fake news. So I think we will be having a short break, Doctor, after this, because I'm quite tired myself. So to the audience out there, don't go anywhere, because we will be back after this. Adia berkata di bibir tersentuh di jiwa.
Under the Anti-Fake News Act, anyone found maliciously creating or sharing information that is false or even partly false may be fined up to $130,000 or jailed for a maximum of 6 years. The law will apply to anyone inside or outside the country, regardless of nationality, as long as the news concerns Malaysia or its citizens. Press freedom advocates say they're concerned the law may be used to target voices of dissent, particularly as elections are expected to be called soon.
𝐷𝗂𝒗𝒑𝒉 Assalamualaikum, and welcome back to this episode of 𝐷𝗂, where we are focusing on fake news. So before we start with the second session, I would like to just recap a little bit on the first session, where we have talked about the introduction of fake news. We have mentioned and discussed on the definitions of fake news and also the different types of fake news, also the consequences of those spreading fake news as well as those receiving fake news. So in this second session, Doctor, we will be focusing more on the practical strategies to help our audience out there to, avoid themselves from receiving as well as sending or sharing fake news. So first things first, there are common things or common red flags around fake news that people should pay attention to. So what are those common red flags that fake news have that people should pay attention to in order to avoid them, Doctor?
Uh, One of them, which come to my mind, the first one is about exaggeration.
Exaggeration.
When you find some information or news which can be considered as exaggeration, uh, beyond the logics, completely illogical, or you cannot find any of the mainstream news channel, right, did not report about it, or some products, for example, claim to be from one bank or from the police, right, or information or instruction from the police or from what they call it as custom or even LHDN, Lembaga Hasil, and so on and so forth. You must be very careful about it. You must be very to have a little bit more steps to make sure that the information given or received by you to be double checked whether it is true or not. And one element that shared among almost all the fake news, that one is the exaggeration. Right. So whenever you find the exaggeration in the information or in the news, please step back a little bit, do your study, do your research, and whether it is true or not, after you are fully satisfied that it is a true information and news. And second one, it is because of some what is the rushness, why you need to be rushed.
Yes.
You are not the prime minister to make a decision.
That's
You
true.
are not a minister to instruct your staff or instruct your machinery in the ministry to do or to decide on something. So uh, this rush is not needed for you. So relax a little bit,
Yes.
do some homework, and then you want to share it or you want to act upon it. It is a second step or second layer of your action.
Action. Okay, so indeed the first main red flags are the exaggerations, right? Yes, we can see how nowadays there are a lot of news out there that doesn't even seems logical, but people still shares them, right, Doctor? So we can see how people are actually when doctor talks about the rush in sharing informations, I think people nowadays, they have a thing called fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So they have like this feeling of needing to be
They
credible.
want to be the first one who share.
Yes.
They want to lead the spread of the information and so
Yes.
on.
Maybe they feel like I'm someone credible and important for me to share those things. So indeed, those are the red flags or the things that you need to do to ensure that the news are either real or fake or authentic. So make sure to take notes to the audience out there. So secondly, doctor, practically, how can ordinary users of maybe social medias or the technology users train themselves to read news more critically? Because they know, maybe some people, they do have the knowledge of this information, whether it is real or not. They have the knowledge of knowing whether it is true or not. But how can they train themselves? It might be a habit for them to just, when they receive an information, they might just share it because it becomes a habit. So how do they actually train themselves to, whenever they receive a news, to critically evaluate whether the news are true or not?
Yes, the issue is not the technology.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is not the medium.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, the biggest one is the person, the user itself.
Yes.
The user itself. In the past,
Mm-hmm.
we have the classical, the orthodox way of spreading news and information, verbal, casual conversation, in the coffee table and so on and
Yes.
so forth. Nowadays, it is became more modern.
Yes.
It is faster in terms of transporting the information and news. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So the most important part is how we aware that everything that we do is going to be we are going to be asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter.
Yes.
Okay. It is not only the consequences in terms of law,
Mm-hmm.
but we are going to be responsible in front of Allah, as the majority of our people know about the verse in Surah Yasin, اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. Today, we make sure that we stop the service of your mouth, all right, and then your feet and your hands will testify against you what you have done before. So yeah, you can do as what you wish. It is within your rights, all right, but your right must be accountable for what it has done. So sometimes a good advice, we repeatedly mention or advise people, don't do this. It is completely against Al-Quran and Sunnah. It is against the law, all right? But people will have the awareness and understand the consequences when they have go beyond the limit. They are being charged in the court, and then they bear the consequences for what they have done. So yeah, sometimes we can advise them nicely, repeatedly, and we do not lack the verses from Quran, the nas from Al Quran and Sunnah. We don't lack of that.
Yes.
But perhaps we are not. Our people do not get or deserve. They don't feel or don't get the right consequences that they deserve to get. All right.
Okay, so it's basically, we're talking about how actually they do have enough advice. People know and people does listen, but they does not ingrain in themselves that actually what they are doing
Now
currently.
it is almost impossible
Yes.
for the majority of people do not know what are the punishments,
Yes,
what are the
exactly.
consequences. For almost everyone had this technology, the gadgets and so on and so
Yes.
forth.
They have the information right in front of their eyes, right? But they need to remember and ingrain in themselves that whatever they are doing currently will be accountable in the akhirah, right out there. Okay, so now that we are talking about how people are actually attracted to sensational or fake news, how you just mentioned how sometimes fake news are exaggerated exaggerated. But I think people nowadays, those exaggerations or those sensational news are what they are looking forward to. So how do we actually shift these people's focus away from unverified content and back towards the credible journalism or the mainstream media that we have?
The community,
Mm-hmm.
the atmosphere among the journalists, the people, must equally change among them.
Mm-hmm.
There is no supply when there is no demand.
Yes.
All right, there is no supply when there is no demand. When the readers, they tend to read more on the sensational information and news,
Mm-hmm.
then the journalist or the provider, news provider, will provide it more and more and more.
Exactly.
So the people must stop themselves from reaching or asking for such information and news. That would be the first step.
The first
All right. And after that, the provider, the news provider, will see that, oh, this is not what the majority of people wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
So they will stop gradually in providing such news and
Mm-hmm.
information. So the popularity is something addictive.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true.
Right. Nowadays, people have the very easiest way and mechanism how to sell themselves.
Yes.
They just it is enough for them to have one gadget, one handphone, and to register an account on TikTok,
Exactly.
on Facebook, or Instagram,
Yeah.
especially on TikTok.
Yes.
We can see someone who is very shy outside. When we talk, they cannot even speak to us properly, eye to eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was alone
Mm-hmm.
in his room, he can even dance, he can even sing without any hesitation,
Mm-hmm.
and he changed 100%,
Yes.
180-degree,
Mm-hmm.
completely changed. Due to what? Due to the technology. So it is not an easy task. All right. So how to shift it? Again, the awareness. It must come from themselves. You cannot change anyone unless they ready to change themselves. Right. So
Yes.
this discussion must come and be in the picture of the public frequently, and how to make them understand and comprehend that uh, this sensational, this popularity will not remain with them,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, in their life forever. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about, popularities, it's not going to last long, right,
Yeah.
Doctor? So those are the types of things that people actually look forward to, but it's actually not universal. It's not timeless, we could say. So people out there, to the audience out there, you should always be aware of yourself that the popularities, the sensational or the fake news that you are actually demanding from the journalists are actually something we could say invalid, some things that shouldn't be demanded from them. So they should be aware of themselves on how and what they are consuming, right, Doctor? Okay, so in Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 6, Allah commands believers to verify information from a fasik. But some argue that they think they shouldn't be actually looking at who are giving the informations, but they should focus on what the informations are given. So how do we actually understand this point of view, Doctor? Is it correct or is it wrong?
It is not completely right, and it is not completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It is half, or 50% of right and 50% of wrong. Why?
Okay.
Because first, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned clearly in the Surah Al-Hujurat, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu
Mm-hmm.
an tusibu qawman bijahalatin fatusbihu ala ma fa'altum nadimin. Allah tries to make sure that we do not regret with what we have done. All right, by checking up on the information given by Fasik. Fasik, perhaps a perpetrator or doer of massive and major sin,
Mm-hmm.
as well as mentioned by other exegete or mufassir as someone who is unknown about their credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the information, yes, we should not too much in problem with the person, but what is the information he is giving us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. but the information giving by that person is always influenced by the giver of the information, the provider of the information. How he process the information, he might, as I said in other occasions, that he might process it as half-baked truth, right? He might not put it into a very clear, or the what we call as a very full story, the general picture of that particular information. So he plays a very important role, how to process, how to present, how to give and provide the way, or the mechanism in providing and giving the information to the listeners. So it is completely not 100% true to say that, oh, we always look at the news, not to the provider of the news.
So it always depends on the circumstances, and depends on the situations itself, right, Doctor? So what an interesting and intense discussion we just had about fake news. So I think we're going to be having another short break because I need to take a break myself. These are a lot of information to take in. And to the audience out there, you guys can also have a short break, but don't go anywhere, because in the third session, we'll be having a more interactive and interesting session. With that, Adia, berkata di bibir tersentuh di jiwa.
Why does fake news spread so much farther, faster, deeper, and more broadly than the truth? And what we came up with was what we called the novelty hypothesis. So if you read the cognitive science literature, you know that human attention is drawn to novelty, new things in the environment. And if you read the sociology literature, you know that we gain in status when we share novel information, because it makes us look like we're in the know, or that we have inside information that other people don't have. So these two factors make it more likely that we share novelty. So when we check the novelty of true and false news compared to everything that a given individual on Twitter had seen in the 2 months prior, we found that indeed false news was way more novel than the truth. And when we checked the replies to true and false tweets to see how people were expressing sentiment about what they were reading, we found that indeed, in reply to false news, people expressed surprise, anger, and disgust, while in reply to true news, they expressed anticipation, joy, and trust. So the surprise confirmed our novelty hypothesis that yes, false news is more novel. People spread more novel information more often than less novel information, and people were genuinely surprised by fake news.
Berkata di bibir tersentuh di jiwa. Assalamualaikum, and welcome back to the third and final session for today's episode, where we are discussing on the fake news that is spreading around the world. So in the first session, again, we have talked about the introduction of fake news. In the second session, we have discussed intensely on the practicalities, or the way of for our audience to avoid spreading fake news itself. So for this third and last session, we will be having a little of an interactive session where we will be playing a little game, Doctor. It is called Facts or Myth. So here with me, I have so this is a prop that have been provided by the production team. So would you please take this, Doctor? Okay, thank you so much. So here I have a set of questions. So I will read them to you, Doctor, and then you will have to decide whether the statements that I have given are either facts or myths. And to the audience out there, you can also play together and see whether your answers are correct or not. So are you ready, Doctor?
Yes, please.
All right. So first statement. In Malaysia, you can be charged in court for forwarding fake news even if you didn't write it yourself. So we have talked about this previously, Doctor. So is it a fact or a myth? It is a fact. Obviously, we have mentioned this quite a few times before in the first and even the second session, where even if you are not the ones writing the fake news or making the fake news itself, if you are spreading it to other people without much thinking or without much, digging, you can as well be charged, not even in the eyes of law, also in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Okay, second statement, Doctor. If a photo appears on Google Images, it guarantees the photo is real and legitimate. So is this a fact or a myth? It is a myth. So, some people, they think whatever is on Google are actually credible.
Okay.
Whatever they are on Google's are actually trusted, but that is incorrect. That is in fact a myth, because we even have Wikipedia on Google, and that's not very reliable for us. Even students don't use Wikipedia for your assignments, please. Okay, the third statement, Doctor. Deepfake technology can now clone a person's voice so well that it sounds like the original person's voice. That's a fact. So can you elaborate more on this, please, Doctor?
And this is another one of what we call as the lattice of technology, where something we we cannot think about it in the past centuries. Uh, in Islam, for example, when when we see or we talk about others regarding, for example, in practicing zina, when you accuse someone
Yes.
related to the zina, you must come with the four witnesses.
Yes.
And these four witnesses cannot come from the secondary or tertiary mechanism. No, it must, these four saw the action by themselves, directly by them.
The primary source
Yeah.
itself.
Before, people would say that this is some kind of backwards decision made by Islam or by the scholars. But nowadays, when we look at the deep fake through these AI technologies,
Yes.
everything, it is almost 100% similarity in faking the video, the action, right, the voice and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, even some celebrities, yeah, given the videos being faked or being or doctored, using their voice, their face, and their body in promoting products or in making such statements, a very sensational, very sensitive content.
Yes.
But after we checked and so on, and it is indeed a fake news and the fake technology and so on.
So it's terrifying how we can see AI right now are becoming more and more realistic. Even I have come across multiple videos and pictures that are actually not authentic, are made by AI, but it's quite very hard to distinguish these differences because AI are becoming more and
And
more
majority
realistic.
of the less literate on technology,
Yes.
the old people, they will take on the face value,
Yes.
or it is on the internet, and then well spread, everyone talk about it, and then it is part of the truth that they believe in.
Yes.
Yeah, then defend about the the bad of others, even especially in the political issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very rigorous advancement in our society.
It's also bad how it can actually become a fitna nowadays, Doctor. Okay, so I think last question for our fake or myth game. Last statement. Satirical news such as Harakat Daily is a trusted alternative to legitimate news organizations. Is that a fact or a myth? That's a myth. So how is that, Doctor?
Uh, that channel or that source of information and news, I found in several WhatsApp groups and discussion. Yeah, not only the old people but even the younger generations commented on it, just like it is a real issue, real news, and real information. so easily being manipulated, easily exploited. All right, and the way how they present the content is quite yeah, funny
Okay.
and satirical, and it attracts people how to comment on it or to condemn the person being portrayed in the news or in the picture,
Yes.
and similar to that. Yeah, so it is very, very dangerous.
It is
It
very
is not
dangerous.
only one. You got several channels, several accounts on social media similar to that particular channel.
Yeah, so we can see how actually those are the ones that people look for, but it's not very credible, is it, out there? Okay, so now that we are done with our fake or myth game, I have one last question to ask you before we end our session for today. So, if there is one habit viewers should adopt tonight to avoid spreading fake news, what is it?
Uh, if you ask me, it is to be careful. Yeah, to take a step back, not to rush, right? So it is under the comprehension of be careful, because as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Hujurat, as what you read just now, uh, فَتُصْبِحُ عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ, you might regret with what you have done. So do not do something without thinking the consequences, without thinking the punishment that you might get due to what you have done, due to your carelessness. All right, not checking on the information and news. Yeah, it is an open space for everyone. Even you are a student, you
Yes.
just share a fake news.
Yes.
When the victim of from that fake news lodge a police report, and police will act upon it or accordingly due to these two laws and rules of regulations, which is the first one is under communication and communication act, all right, communication and digital act, as well as penal code, and this is a very severe punishment under these two laws.
So indeed, that's why we have a saying that goes, prevention is better than
Yeah.
cure, right? So to the audience out there, you need to be careful. So like the one habit that people should always think about whenever they receive news or whenever they find something on the internet, make sure to be careful, take a step back and think about it, whether or not you should share it or you should tell it to other people, but making sure it's the correct information, making sure it's the credible ones. So yes, indeed. When we're talking about fake news, right, out there, how people are actually, some people they even encourage the idea of fake news because they think it's an entertainment. Because people nowadays find it everything is entertainment, right, out there. So to the audience out there, make sure you are not only looking for entertainment but also thinking of the consequences that you will face later on, despite being even a student.
Yeah.
The law will even punish them even if they are a student, because some people they think, oh, I'm a student, I'm underage, the law will not
But for the university
punish
students,
me.
they are no longer underage.
Yeah, but for
Yeah,
university
they're all
students again,
adult.
um we are adult already, so the law still acts upon us. But for maybe underage students, how in high school they already have this thinking or the idea of doing something just because they think the law does not affects them, right, doctor? Okay, so I think that was it for our episode for today. Before we end our session, I would like to first thank so much our special guest, Doctor, again, for spending your time with me and with us in this studio of IIUMTV for today. And thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and information that you have. And to the audience out there, thank you so much for watching until the end. I hope you guys will have the best day for the rest of your day. And don't forget to follow IIUMTV on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X, YouTube, as well as on Facebook. With that, I am Bashira, your host. Adia berkata di bibir tersentuh di jiwa.